Hi everyone. Hope you're all doing good. Okay, so this is the second round draw for the 33rd edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. Right, so obviously last round, because it was Halloween, we did an unluckiest bastards version of the game, which was basically the opposite rules, so that everybody who had a losing fighter went through and everybody who had a winning fighter went out. This week we took a vote on it on the forums and we voted 11 to 7 to return to the normal rules. So from now on, this game anyway will be under the normal Tapology Lucky Bastard game rules. So you will need a winner in order to get through to the next round as normal. So obviously for all the users in here who had a losing fighter last week, you got away with it last week, but this time you're going to need your fighter to win. So anyway, let's remind ourselves who those now luckiest bastards are going to be. There's 21 of them left in, exact half split. So we started with 42, so cut the field exactly in half for the second round. The 21 remaining lucky bastards are Baron von Rattus, Bellatrix, Calfoth, Cheeseball, Damien Handel 420, El Guapo, It's Your Boy SB, Jack Soto, KK Kombu, Knife Rusty, Cushy Cake, Piggy Bank, Spotling, me, Steve Terry, The Matchmaker, the MMA Historian, Tosh, Trey Allman, Uber Industry, our only alliance left in it, obviously, is well, of course we Costa down weren't actually in this one, were they? I've already forgotten that. But yeah, no, they've um yeah, anyway, so Uber Industry, German alliance, still standing in this game anyway. Vazk 88, our debutant, of course, and Excon Chris. So that's the 21 left in it. For the back to normal rules of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. And this week we have UFC Fight Night, Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown headlining this. Uh, Very intriguing welterweight matchup, this one. Um, Randy Brown, 5-1 in the UFC. Made a very good start. Still relatively new to the promotion, but he's made a very good start so far. Uh, is obviously a submission expert. That's his bread and butter. That's what he tends to look for. But see, he's shown versatility. He's can go the distance as well. So he's looking like a good prospect. He's up against Randy Brown, UFC veteran, 14-6, so 20 fights in the promotion now. Um, I would say Brown is more well-rounded. Obviously, part of that could be a bit biased because I've seen more of Randy Brown's fights than I have of Gabriel Bonfim, just by virtue of him being in the UFC for longer. Um, but yeah, in my opinion, I think he's the more well-rounded of the two. I think Bonfim has the advantage on the ground for sure. But yeah, I'm just for me that the difference in the UFC experience is too much to ignore. Uh, and I don't really rely on MMA maths because I know it's not a case of rock paper scissors. One style always beats another style. But one interesting bit of trivia about this fight: Gabriel Bonfim, 18-1 in his MMA career. That one loss was against Nicholas Dolby. Now, Nicholas Dolby uh, uh, is the fighter that Randy Brown last fought and won against. He won by as against KO against Nicholas Stalby, and it's just interesting. The Randy Brown's last fight was a win over the only guy ever to beat Gabriel Bonfim, but more for the reasons I previously mentioned, more just the sheer golf in the UFC experience. I've gone with Randy Brown for this one to win by decision. Right. Anyway, you're not here to listen to my opinions. I mean, of course, if you're watching this video, you're going to hear them anyway, whether you like it or not. But the main objective of this video is to see who you're going to get drawn with in the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. So let's get on with it. Just check I'm on the right screen here, showing the wheel. Yes, of course I am. Right. Okay, so first up is Baron von Rattus. Which fighter does he need to win this time in order to go through? And he gets the brother of Gabriel Bonfim, Ismail Bonfim. Ismail uh, Bonfim there for Baron von Rattus. A little bit further down the card. It's only a few fights, to be fair. It's still on the main card. Um, he's up against Chris Padilla. I've got Bonfim, Ismail Bonfim, uh, to win by decision in this one. So I've got one of the Bonfim brothers to win, but not the other one. Uh, it's four fights in the UFC, 2-2. Last fight was a doctor stoppage against Nazim Sadikov. But he's prefers to try and find a knockout if possible. But he's again very well rounded, can go the distance easily enough, and that's partly my basis for him. To why I feel so confident in him getting a decision. Chris Padilla, on the other hand, when it comes to decisions, he's a bit 50-50 with them. He can get them sometimes, but he's not always the most reliable over the distance. And that, for me, has been the deciding factor. Um, he's in very good form, 6-fight win streak, but it's just if it does go the distance, which I think it will, I think it's far more likely that well, not Gabriel, Ismail Bonfim's going to have his hand raised at the end of it. So that's my reckoning for that one. So I think Baron von Rattus is going to go through with a winning fight at this time, which of course we all need this time around. Okay, Bellatrix next up. Let's see who Bellatrix gets paired with. And Bellatrix gets Raoni Barcelos. Raoni Barcelos for Bellatrix. And up against Ricky Simon. Uh, quite that was quite a hard one for me to decide, that one, and still might flip flop, but I've gone with Ricky Simon for this one. Um, it's there's not really a lot in it in terms of their experience in both MMA or the UFC. Ricky Simon 22-6 in MMA, Raoni Barcelos 20-5. Um, Simon being 10-5 in the UFC and Barcelos being 9-4 in the UFC. So there's not really much to split them there. Um, Ricky Simon, he's on a two-fight win streak, but he has struggled in the last few years. But those last two fights for me have given me enough confidence to back him in this one. Because he did have a period where he was like, I think it was three or two fights we lost in a row. I can't quite remember, but he was on a bit of a losing streak and he did need to turn it around. And I remember at the time, I wasn't 100% sure if he could, but he has, fair play to him. Now, two-fight win streak. And I was thinking those fights as well. That's probably some of the best versions we've seen of him. He's definitely come back and improved from the level that he was previously at, in my opinion. So that's the main thing that's made me side with Ricky Simon over Barcelos here. Um, and Barcelos again, similar to Chris Padilla, as I mentioned earlier, he's also um, not always the most reliable going over the distance. He's lost three decisions in his career, but then having said that, he has also got a few decision wins to his name as well. But again, it's one of these fights. I think it is going to go the distance. That's just how both of their styles gel together. Both Barcelos and Simon try and win it on points if possible. Simon, to be fair, recently has shown a little bit more knockout power than previous years, but still, I think it's still ended up going the distance. And Simon's recent improved form is enough for me to back him in this one. So not it's not the end of the world because it's a very close fight and it could still go either way. So I'd say that Bellatrix is even though I've not picked Barcelos personally, that's still a 50-50 fight. You could definitely have definitely worse options on the card you could have got. Okay, so Kalfoth is next to learn his fates. Let's see who the wheel gives to Kalfoth. And it's Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos there for Kalfoth. And the second fight on the card against Miles Johns. I've gone with Marcos for a decision here. Miles Johns is the more experienced of the two, but not by much in MMA, but definitely in UFC. Although Marcos has the better UFC record. Miles Johns 6-4 in the UFC, Marcos 4-1 in the promotion. Um, Marcos generally looks for knockouts if possible, but he's very comfortable over 3 rounds. If a fighter drags him out for 3 rounds, then he's can keep their pace. He can match the match their work ethic most of the time. So it's that's for me one of the main quality of a fighter, really, isn't it? It's a case of the going gets tough, can you stick in with them to the end? And Marcos has shown so far he can, and Miles John's not always the case. He usually goes the distance. To be fair, he's quite a hard guy to finish. And he does tend to win by decision himself most of the time. But the last 2 fights, he is on a 2 fight decision loss streak at the moment. Which obviously he'll be looking to snap out of that. Maybe that'll add a bit more desperation than normal into his fighting style. Because thinking that's maybe he needs this more than the other ones previously. But in any case, I'm still reckoning Marcos is going to get the job done. Another one of these, I can see it's a case of both fighters will be happy to hear the final horn at the end of it, and that's yeah, I can't really see the one finishing each other. That's the thing. So it kind of defaults to decisions, obviously. But of the two, I think when that inevitably happens, Marcos is the one to get his hand raised. So I think it's quite a good pick there for Calforth. Definitely could have been worse for him. I'd say definitely could have been worse. I think it was pretty good actually, underselling it. Okay, Cheeseball next to discover his fate. Let's see, what does the wheel have in store for Cheeseball? And Cheeseball gets Jackson McVeigh. So he won't have to wait too long for to learn his fate. Jackson McVeigh for Cheeseball. No, this is a funny one. Jackson McVeigh, he's had a couple of opponents drop out. I can't think of the first one off the top of my head now, but he was also meant to be fighting earlier this week. Dante Johnson, who of course he was on the UFC card last week as well. But obviously was a winning fighter, so not uh, so obviously anyone that had him went out. Um, but he was meant to be fighting again this week, but the Nevada State Athletic Commission didn't clear him, which I think is fair enough. Even if he did win comfortably against Cedricus Dumas, he deserves a break if nothing else. Like so anyway. In steps Zach Reese on short notice. Fair play to you, Zach Reese. It's I've gone with Zach Reese to win this one. Um, and although having said that, I'm still not 100% sold on it, but I am siding with him to win it. Uh, he's obviously 3-2 in the promotion, whereas Jackson McVeigh lost his UFC debut last time out, first professional loss of his career. That was by submission to Bruno Ferreira. It's not a bad loss at all. That's a very respectable one. But it's yeah, but for me, it's just a case of Zach Reese has just got that little bit more experience. And when you're only about seven fights into your career, I mean, Zach Reese himself isn't too much more experienced, 9-2, but um, in his MMA career. But it's just that little bit of experience, those extra few fights can make a world of difference, in my opinion. But again, not quite sure exactly where. Obviously where Zach's fitness is going to be at. Because I mean, last time we didn't really see too much of a fight last time because last time he it was a no contest from kicking Cedricus Dumas in the nuts. Unlucky there for Dumas, but basically, obviously he's coming in on short notice, as I said. How much has he been? Obviously, he's been training, obviously, but would he have been in camp? How ready would he have been? So I'm not 100% sure on that. So there's a lot of questions about this fight, and I think anyone that gets either Zach Reese or Jackson McVeigh is a bit of a gamble. A bit of a lottery there that the wheel gives you if you end up in that fight. But I am siding with Zach Reese though, simply because slightly more UFC experience. Um, and again, as that experience, he's gone over the distance as well. Uh, he's held the final horn, which, funny enough, Jackson McVeigh's never has. Three knockout wins, three submission wins, but he's never got won or lost over the distance. So that experience of going the distance is just going to be, and the slightly more fights under his belt. That's what's making me side with Zach Race there for a decision. But it's like I say, it's very tough. We never quite know with short notice fights. They're very unpredictable. So you can definitely make an argument that Cheeseball has been given the slight underdog in a 50-50 coin flip fight there. That's definitely worse he could have had, but could have been better too. Okay, Damien Handel for 20 next to learn his fate at the hands of the wheel. Let's see what the wheel has in store for the duck. And he also gets Raoni Barcelos. Just like Bellatrix earlier, Raoni Barcelos has now got two users rather, or players, whatever you want to call yourselves, on his shoulders. As I mentioned, against Ricky Simon. Um, yeah, still going with Ricky Simon for a decision win here, simply because the improvement we've seen from him over those last two fights has been it's been uh, it's been very good. They've been two of the best fights of his career, in my opinion, in terms of performance, in terms of because he needed to win those. Because if he didn't, he'd probably have been cut. But he's kept himself in it, and he's kept himself a force at bantamweight. He's maybe not a title contender or anything like that, but I mean, he's definitely still deserves his spot in the UFC, of course. Um, and if he were out of the UFC, he'd probably make fairly light work of a lot of the regional shows. To be honest, I reckon easily be a bantamweight champion somewhere else. Um, but anyway, back to Barcelos. Yeah, it's a case of he's um, as I say, very good over the distance himself. So he's not going to be out of his depth against Ricky Simon. He's got a very respectable knockout percentage too, as well as around 40 something percent, something like that. So he has that ability to just suddenly turn your lights out. If you drop your guard for a second, he can knock you out, and you can never write out somebody that's got that kind of power. But it's just I just don't think this is a good matchup for him. I really don't. And yeah, he's not going to be embarrassed by this. He's going to put in a great performance, and he's going to be a very commendable effort. But it's ultimately there can only be one winner of a fight, and I think that's going to be Ricky Simon. So We'll see how that plays out. Be interesting to see if anyone gets drawn with Ricky Simon. Anyone ends up on the other side of that, make it a 2v1 maybe. We've got a 2v0 at the moment. I'm sure obviously there'll be more double ups and heads to heads to come once we've got through some of the other players. Okay, so El Guapo, who does amazing commentary after the afterwards to sum up the action we've seen on it, it's absolutely incredible. His poetic flair. It's always a joy to read through those after the and we always appreciate your efforts, and that's probably my favourite aspect of this game. Really, all the little things that you all do to add your own flavour to it. It's wonderful and to see it grow like that. And so yeah, I just thank you to all of you for all your little contributions, all your banter, all your memes, and all the rest of it, all your arguments, shit posts. So, oh, I love it. But yeah, thank you for that. Let's get back to business. Let's see who El Guapo is going to be drawn with. It's Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla there for uh, El Guapo. So obviously that means he's up against Baron von Rattus, our first head-to-head. Baron von Rattus, of course, with Ismail Bonfim. El Guapo, Chris Padilla, his opponent. Uh, and as I mentioned earlier, I have sided with this Bonfim brother, Ismail, against Chris Padilla. Padilla's made a great start to the UFC, 3-0, currently riding a six fight win streak, and he hasn't lost for 3 years. His last loss was in 2022. Um, his main threat, of course, is his striking ability. Not too bad on the ground too either, but it's just again, I like to see fighters go over the distance. It's generally when I'm judging the overall strength of a fighter, I'm much more impressed by fighters that look good consistently over 3 rounds. If your third round still looks as good, or at least only a little bit less of a work rate than rounds 1 and 2 are, then that impresses me more than quick flashy KOs. Because quick flashy KOs, you can kind of write them off as fluke results almost. And not to dismiss the hard work all the fighters put in, but now and again, let's be honest, you do get lucky shots. You do get flukes. You do get things that, even if you've worked on them in training, you still need a bit of luck for them to actually come off in the fight. Or you just need your opponent to make an out of character mistake and you can put their lights out like that, or get their neck or something like that. So and obviously, not all quick first round finishes are flukes. Most aren't. But I'm more impressed when someone can consistently look good over the course of 15 minutes. Even more so if they've got main event experience and go 25 minutes. That's uh, and for me, judging on that, I think between the two, over the course of 15 minutes, who looks better? Ismail Bonfim or Chris Padilla? For me, that is Ismail Bonfim. And normally, if I think one fighter is going to finish the other, then I don't really consider that too much. But in this case, I don't. I don't think either fighters, besides, um, as you say, one of those. I mean, sudden knockouts, sudden submission chances do happen. Mistakes from fighters happen. Brilliant moves from fighters do happen. But I think with these two styles, it's more likely to drag out to a decision. And Ismail Bonfim is, for my money, the better fighter in and over the course of 3 rounds. So I think that Baron von Rattus has got the better end of that draw, that head to head. So El Guapo, of course, not without a chance, but I would rather be on Baron von Rattus' side of things if I end up in that fight myself later on in this video. Okay, so it's your boy SB up next. Let's see who it's your boy SB gets paired with. And he gets Marco Tullio. Marco Tullio there for It's Your Boy SB. It's is up against Christian Leroy Duncan. This is a fight where I think it's going to come down to whoever lands first, really. This is a real 50-50 pick 'em. And I've been banging on a lot about fights that I think will go the distance, which fighter goes over the distance. I'm when it comes to analysing MMA, I am obsessed with fights that go the distance. They're the ones I like to look at and study more than the knockouts and the submission ones. But this one is not. Between these two fighters, this is not going the distance. I would be stunned if it does go the distance. Um, Simply because they're both knockout artists. They both look for those knockouts. Christian Leroy Duncan, especially. Again, a little bit biased. Obviously, he's an English fighter. I'm English myself, British as well. So whatever you want to call me, British, English, British Isles, whatever you associate me as. Uh, but anyway, Christian Leroy Duncan, of course, I've having because of that, I've also seen him in Cage Warriors, um, long before he came into the UFC, where he was, of course, the champion over there. Uh, so I'm much more familiar with his game, and I'm more likely to back him anyway. And that's probably the only reason I've gone with him over Marco Tullio here. Uh, is Even though Tullio's got the better looking MMA records, 14-1 compared to Christian Leroy Duncan's 12-2. Not a lot in it though. Um, Leroy Duncan's had a few more UFC fights as well, and he's 5-2 in the UFC compared to Marco Tullio's 2-0. To be fair, undefeated in the UFC. Fair play. But um, I'm not going to say the Cage Warriors is UFC level because it isn't, but it is very good. It is a very high standard. Um, if a fighter comes from Cage Warriors um, into the UFC, I expect them to make an impression in the UFC, and because it's a very high standard compared to most regional promotions. Again, a little bit of bias there, British bias, of course, but it's a fact of the Cage Warriors does produce some great fighters, and yeah, also I'm going with Christian Leroy Duncan for this, but it's both have that power to knock the other unconscious, and both will be looking to do that. Both I don't see this being a very high grappling affair or anything like that. This is going to be a stand and bang, maybe not reckless stand and bang, a very more tactical stand and bang kind of fight, but it's gonna. I think it's a classic case of who lands first. And I've got a little bit more faith in that one being Christian Leroy Duncan. But this is a 50-50 fight. So Marco Tullio and it's your boy SB. This is a coin toss fight. Just sit back and enjoy the fireworks if you can. Um, Up next, Jack Soto is about to learn his fate. Let's see who Jack Soto gets paired with. And he gets one of the main event fighters, Randy Brown. Randy Brown there for Jack Soto. And again, as I've mentioned in my intro there, I'm picking Brown to win by a decision. Um, yes, as I've mentioned, I will acknowledge my biases when they occur to me. And I am biased to Brown because I'm more familiar with him. He's been in the promotion longer, had more fights in the promotion. I've got a lot more memory of Brown fighting than I do of Bonfim. Oh, and it's going to be, it's I say it's going to be a competitive fight, but it's as Bonfim's looked great in the UFC so far. Uh, but it's still early days. He's made a great start, but and I'm sure Bonfim himself, in a few years' time, when I'm inevitably recording the 50th or 60th edition of this game, I'm going to be talking about Gabriel Bonfim, about how much more familiar am with him compared to whoever the next John Smith up and comer is at the time. But I just think Brown's got the more experience, more with more well-rounded skill set as well. He's whereas Bonfim not going to he isn't entirely one-dimensional, but he is very very reliant on the submission game, and he has the advantage over Brown in that sense. But Brown's not bad on the ground either. Um, Possibly besides Nicholas Dalby, perhaps the toughest test for Bonfim. But still, I'm sticking with my guns. I'm going with Randy Brown for this. So I think that's a good pick. I think Jack Soto should be going through into the into the third round. Sorry. I believe Randy Brown might actually be the underdog, or at least the bookies underdog for this anyway. But anyway, we'll see. It'll all play out tomorrow night. We'll see who wins, who loses, who goes through, who goes out, etc. Uh, we now move on to KK Kombu. Let's see who KK Kombu gets paired with. He gets Euros Medic there for KK Kombu. Um, Up against Muslim Salikov. Very intriguing one, this, because just mentioning about the bookie's favourites, this is the only one actually made a note of the odds for. Last I checked, his medic was minus 205. That's about 1 to 2 in normal fraction odds or thereabouts. Um, Whereas Salikov's plus 170, so that's slightly worse than 2 to 1 the other way. But now I can kind of see why, in a way, because let's just get the elephant in the room out of the way. Muslim Salikov is 41, which is ancient by MMA standards. Um, and yes, he's on a 3 fight win streak. Um, and he's looked good um, in those 3 fights that he's recently had. And uh, is mainly a KO artist and usually a first round knockout artist. Obviously, a lot of those wins came when he was younger, sure, but in my opinion, I think he's still got that power because with age, power's the last thing to go in a fighter. You can lose your speed, you can lose your reactions, you can lose your maybe your fight IQ a little bit. But for me, I think that combined with the fight experience that he has over Medic, um, of course, just comparing the odds, I think in this case the MMA ones are more significant than the UFC ones. Slikov's 9-4 UFC, Medic 5-3. But Slikov's 22-5 in MMA with Medic as 11-3 in MMA. Is Yeah, and I think it's with that experience as well. I think that uh, he's still got it in him to go for the knockout, and maybe his stamina's not quite as good as it used to be. And if it isn't, then he's not going to want a drawn out battle. He's going to go in there and think, well, you know what, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to try and knock him out in the first round because that's my most realistic path to victory. Um, and if that didn't happen, well, I'll be losing anyway. So if I tried to base himself, maybe, but um, yeah, I'm just not confident at all in Medic there. Quite inconsistent as well. He won his last one, then he lost the one before that, one and then lost one, and then etc. And he hasn't really found a consistent run of form. So, despite the age, this is a fight that's going to come down to the power. And Salikov's still got that, in my opinion. Recent form, still on that 3 fight win streak. I like Slikov here. I'm not going to bother going out and putting a bet on him myself. I'd hardly ever gamble these days, but I think that's value. I really do. I think he's going to win this. I've gone with a first round knockout for Salikov. Certainly not a guarantee by any means, but I am very confident in him. This is probably the underdog I'm the most confident in. Having said that, I said that same quote about Cedricus Dumas last week, though. So take that with a pinch of salt, or a handful of salt, or maybe a whole spade full of salt. That's Anyway, let's move on to Knife Rusty. Let's see who Knife Rusty ends up with. And he gets Miles Johns. Miles Johns for Knife Rusty there. Again, that's another head-to-head against Daniel Marcos. That is now Knife Rusty. And Miles Johns versus Cal Foth and Daniel Marcos. And as I mentioned earlier, I think Daniel Marcos is going to be the one that's ends up getting his hand raised at the end of 15 minutes. And Miles Johns, he's the veteran of this fight, I suppose, in a way. Not much in terms of MMA experience, difference wise, but there is a little bit in the UFC. 6-4 in the UFC compared to Marcos's 4-1. But and again, he's had a very good 4-0 record in the LFA as well. So he's been fighting at a decent level for a while now. Um, and but the thing is, it's just a case of he's currently on a two-fight losing streak, both of them by decision. Marcos, of course, he again looks for the knockouts. He will try and finish Johns. I'll be surprised if he comes in tentative from the start and tries to see it out. I don't think he's going to plan to come in and sort of tiptoe his way around the cage and score points by throwing little jabs here and there. The odd little jab or hook or whatever. But I think he is going to come out, maybe not swinging recklessly, but he's definitely going to look for the finish. And but yeah, I think it is inevitably going to go over the course of the distance. And I think, yeah, I think he's going to win it. I think he's going to get his hand raised at the end of that one. Um, Again, not the end of the world though, because I say Miles Johns, he's got that little bit more experience at this level. That could be crucial. Maybe if he's able to make those adjustments in the fight, I don't think it would start off going his way. And I think if he is able to make those some adjustments going into the second and third rounds, um, then yeah, maybe he can turn this around and get a win. But this is MMA. This isn't a boxing match. You got to remember, it's you don't have 12 rounds to try and turn a fight around. You only have three. So if you lose your first one, you need the other two. You're already in the championship rounds at that point, effectively. But anyway, that's my prediction for that. For just keep on circling around like a fucking goldfish. As one of my mates so eloquently put in the pub last week, and it is right. He does describe uh, my tendency to ramble on. I'm like that in real life as well. When chatting with my mates in the pub, the more drunk I get, the more I ramble. It's I'm trying to not be as much of a goldfish since that remark. Just give Josh a shout out for that one. Good mate of mine, known him for years, about 15 years now. Right. Anyway, Cushy Cake. Right, let's see who Cushy Cake is going to be drawn with. And Cushy Cake gets Christian Leroy Duncan. Christian Leroy Duncan there for Cushy Cake. So this is the Don't Blink fight, as I was mentioning earlier, against Marco Tullio. Let me just remind ourselves who had Tullio. Of course, it's your boy SB with Marco Tullio. So that's now a head-to-head between it's your boy SB and Marco Tullio and Cushy Cake and Christian Leroy Duncan. And as I said, this is going to come down to whoever lands first, whoever gets their shot away first, whoever gets that knockout blow, because that's what they're going to be looking for, both of them. And not just for the first round either. They're going to be both looking for it, particularly with Duncan as well. He's shown he can find knockouts at any point in the fight. Uh, so yeah, it's going to be a question of who lands first, really. As I was saying, about fluke KOs or lucky KOs. That's not going to decide this fight, obviously, but it's going to be a factor. You can't neither fighter more. I suppose probably more than any of the other fighters on this card. Obviously, none of them can afford to make mistakes, but especially Marco Tullio and Leroy Duncan, they especially can't afford to make their mistakes given the style of the opponent that they are facing um, in the cage because they're the two of a kind, really, aren't they? They're both knockout artists, both be looking to finish the other one. It's going to come down to who lands first, and for my money, that's Christian Leroy Duncan. So in that head-to-head, I think Cushy Cake's got the upper hand over It's Your Boy SB, but we'll see. It'll all play out tomorrow night. Piggy Bank. Next up, let's see who Piggy Bank gets drawn with. Chris Padilla for Piggy Bank. Chris Padilla. If I spell his name right, put too many L's in there then. I was just typing it out. If there's, you won't even notice after I read out the name there's always a slight pause. That's just me typing out the name into the Excel sheet because obviously I'm updating this live as I go through the video. Little behind the scenes stuff you don't see from where I keep this keep the screen shared on the wheel page constantly. But anyway, El Guapo, our commentator, of course, he's had Chris Padilla earlier. Now Piggy Bank joins him. And of course, that is the head to head against Baron Van Retta. So that's now with Ismail Bonfim. So that's now a 2v1 there. So at the moment, that's looking to be our unofficial Lucky Bastard Game main event. Ismail Bonfim versus Chris Padilla. And as I said, I've gone with Bonfim, as I've gone over a couple of times now. I've gone with him to win by decision. Um, it's looks very well rounded from what we've seen of him so far in the UFC. Again, like his brother, his brother's actually 6 fights into the promotion. To be fair, hence why he's headlining. Whereas Ismail Bonfim is 4 fights in, with the slightly less impressive 2-2 record. But yeah, but Zila, yes, he's still undefeated in the promotion, still on that flashy 3 fight win streak. Um, but it's just a case of going the distance, which I think this fight will. I just if you told me that this fight was absolutely guaranteed to go the distance and that neither fighter was going to finish the other. That's what I think is going to happen. Obviously, there's no guarantees. Anyone can knock out anyone at any time. Anyone can submit anyone at any time. Anyone can kick another fighter in the nuts at any time. This is MMA. It's very unpredictable. That's why we love it. It can be frustrating at times, but we love this sport because of the unpredictability of it. But suppose you had someone come from the future of 24 hours time or thereabouts and said, right, I'm not going to tell you who wins, but I'm going to tell you that that fight goes the distance. And that's all the information I had to work with. I was thinking, right, for my money, that means Ismail Bonfim would have won that fight. And yep, that's my prediction for that. Really, I just think he's just more consistent over the distance than Padilla is. His fighting style sometimes a bit more judge friendly as well. I feel so. That really does make all the difference. Uh, well, all it takes is a few flashy moments to stick in the judge's mind, and they think, yeah, no, I think he got that fight round because of that, and then it does that for another round. Like, yeah, I think he got that round too because of that moment. All it takes. Judges are human. Let's remember that. They can be swayed um, by random things that stick in their mind that they've seen in the fight. Uh, they have their own biases, as we all do, all human. But um, anyway, I think it is Ismail Bonfim more consistent over the decision. That's why I'm siding with him for this one. against Chris Badila. So, um, yep, I think Piggy Bank and El Guapo need a little bit of luck, but uh, Baron Van Rattus, um, I think he can be relatively comfortable with that one. Okay, Spockling next. Let's see who Spockling gets paired with. Still new to the game, only a second game, so hopefully beginner's luck still applies. Let's see who Spockling gets drawn with. There we go. Another one with Ismail Bonfim. Um, so that's hang on, I'm losing track already. Yeah. That's now a 2v2, isn't it? Baron von Rattus and now Spockling with Ismail Bonfim up against Chris Badila, who of course is trying to carry Piggy Bank and El Guapo through to the third round. So yeah, not really much I can add on to that, given I've rambled on about that this would be the fourth time now, and I've just been talking about it five minutes ago. Not even that. But yeah, I think it's going to go the distance, and Ismail Bonfim is the more consistent of the two over the distance. He's the more reliable, and if you go in the distance over 15 minutes, then it's reliability is crucial, and Ismail Bonfim the more reliable of the two, in my opinion. So, yep, good draw there for Spockling. So it's good to see that beginner's luck still applies. Well, obviously we'll still wait to see if that does apply. From my predictions, if supposing they're right, as they always are, of course, um, then then yes, you'll be going through. But obviously we still have to wait and see what happens tomorrow night. Either fighter could just completely shit the bed tomorrow night, so we'll see how it plays out. But I think you're on paper you should win. Right, okay, me, Steve Terry, your host with the most, who, like everybody else in this, got through with a losing fighter. In normal circumstances, I'd be out just like the rest of you, but here I am. Let's see if I can get lucky from here on out. Here we get winning fighters. Let's see who I get drawn with. Okay, yep. I got Daniel Marcos there for me. Daniel Marcos. Um, I'll take that. I'll take that against Miles Johns. Not the most comfortable one, but I'll definitely take that. That is absolutely have had worse than that. Um, let's get someone out on the screens here. Right. Okay, so what was I saying? Daniel Marcos, that's right. So it's come up a few times. Who else had him? I'll just scroll up quickly. That's what I was trying to do. Just have a scroll up, and yeah, it's Calforth had Daniel Marcos earlier. I don't think anyone's had. Yes, that's right. A Knife Rusty had Miles Johns as well. So that's a 2v1. Um, so yeah, so it's me and Calforth up against Knife Rusty and Miles Johns. And as I've said, um, starting to sound like a parrot, but again, Marcos will come out looking for that knockout. But he's shown he's got the ability to go over the distance. And even though he's still new to the promotion, he's 17-1 in his MMA career, so he's got the experience as well. He's not a new young green prospect. He should have ironed out most of those rookie mistakes that you tend to see with a lot of prelim fighters. But of course, Miles Johns, that's its same applies to him. He's not a newbie either. He's actually had more fights than Marcos, as a matter of fact, both UFC and career wise. But I say he's just on a bit of a losing streak, just a bit of run of bad form. And if he was in better form, I'd probably have sided with Miles Johns, simply on the basis of his experience and having fought uh, higher quality opposition for a little bit longer. But it's as it is, it's just that yeah, it's just that it's two fight losing streak, particularly over the distance. Both of those losses that concerns me a little bit. So yeah, just a little bit worried about that one, about that, and not much, but it should make could make the difference rather for this fight. Or at least I'm hoping it will. Anyway, given I've been drawn with Daniel Marcos, now that I've been drawn with you, please don't let me down. So we'll see how it plays out, but it's not going to be it's not a guaranteed ride through for me. Or was it, I've already forgotten. Was it Calforth? Yes, Calforth. It's not a guaranteed ride through into the third round, but I'd rather be on that side of that particular fight. Okay, so the matchmaker is next to take on the wheel. Let's see who the wheel's got in store for the matchmaker. Uh, Tisha Pennington. Tisha Pennington for the matchmaker. Now, in terms of UFC experience, so I was just talking about, you'll be hard pressed on this card to find someone more experienced than Tasha Pennington. I think Randy Brown might be the only one with more UFC fights on this card than than Tasha. She of course has 18 in total. Randy Brown with 20, but uh, and I've gone with her for a decision purely on the basis of that because compared to her opponent Denise Gomez, who's made a great start to the UFC 5-2, which by today's standards, with today's matchmaking, very good. And it definitely looks prettier than Pennington's 11-7 records. But having said that, if you look through Pennington's records, it's a sort of who's who of women's strawweight, and it's she's fought all the best or most of the best fighters that the UFC have had to offer in her era. Getting on a little bit now, 36 years old, compared to the very young Denise Gomez, actually younger than me. That makes me feel nice and old. Uh, yeah, I hate that about sport. Now we're starting to see not even young fighters, but actually fairly well established fighters coming in and say, "Oh yeah, they're younger than me," and it's like, "Oh yeah, great, thanks for that. Thanks for the reminder that I've wasted my life for Bruce Buffer. Thank you." But there's a difference there in the cage, and I'm here uh, making a sweepstake MMA style game on Tapology forums at 1:30 in the morning. But anyway, honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Let's be honest. I don't want to get punched in the face. I'd rather be doing this. But anyway, Tasha Pennington, back on focus. Trying for go off a tangent there. Uh, let's be honest. She does go the distance pretty much every single time in a fight. I think there's one or two exceptions, but off the top of my head, I can't remember a time that she uh, won by a knockout or a submission. There have been on her record. I did see that earlier, but I can't remember off the top of my head because it's been so long now. We just and that's how she does it. She fights a controlled fight and wins on points. Nothing wrong with that, and it's worked for her so far. So that's why she's been in the UFC for so long now. Um, and never been finished either. She's got 7 losses in her career, sure, but all of those have been over the distance. As for Denise Gomez, she's a much more aggressive fighter by comparison. She'll go in and look for the knockout, which is quite a refreshing style to see, particularly for women's fights. I think a lot of the time, women's fights do tend to be a bit more tentative affairs than the men's fights tend to be. I think whereas, but it's starting. It's just the way it is. I can't really explain it, but it's starting to change recently with fighters like Denise Gomez coming on the scene, with a more modern, aggressive style. Um, but she's shown to be comfortable going the distance as well if it goes that far. So it's not a case of she's relying on a knockout. She'll try and find the knockouts, but push comes to shove, then yep, she'll still be there at the end. But uh, and that's a good quality to have. And I can see Denise Gomez going very far in her career. Give it another 5 years easily, and we'll be talking about her as possibly one of the. Uh, she'll be definitely up at the top of the strawweight division by then. Possibly future champion in the very long distance future. I'm not ruling that out. Very unpredictable division, women's strawweight. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility of that, but not right now. But here and now, I think that the veteran in Pennington is just going to take over and just do what she always does, just manage the fight and see it out to a win, just get the job done. Maybe the casuals will hate that, but fuck them. She's got a fight to win. Uh, so yeah, that's how I see this one going, and fair play to her. And for the matchmaker, he'll be perfectly happy if that happens too. Right, okay, so we're onto the MMA historian now. Hoping he won't become MMA history at the end of this round, or at least not for this game anyway. For Lucky Bastard Game history. Oh, a new fighter to ramble on about, Jamal Emmers. No, you all just rolled your eyes when I said that. You love hearing my sexy, sultry British accent. But anyway, it's Jamal Emmers for the MMA historian. That's I suppose I could try talking a slightly more upper class tone in order to add a bit of class to the usual style that you hear in the video, a little bit more classy. But no, I'll stick to my normal voice. But anyway, Jamal Emmers for the MMA historian. Um, right. Uh, I've gone with him for a first round knockout. It's a very close fight, odds wise. It's the the bookies can't split them. It was one minus 115 either way. I mean, not that I quite understand that, to be honest. I mean, I think if you're going on a plus and minus basis, wouldn't evens be 0-0, 0-0 each way? I don't know. You Americans confuse me sometimes with your odds. But anyway, the bookies can't split them. They've got this as a coin toss fight. Not me. I've got Jamal Emmers, and I'm reasonably confident in him too. Um, Hydro Mill got the prettier looking record, 11-1 in MMA, 3-1 in the UFC, 3-0 in the LFA as well. And same as Jamal Emmers, he's 3-0 in the LFA, so no difference there. But he's Emmers 4-4 in the UFC. Doesn't look prettier, but that's twice as many fights as Emil, and four extra fights in the UFC. Given the fact that for new fighters they hand out 2 and 3 fight contracts, that's he's proven himself at this level, and I do feel more confident in fighters once they've got to that stage where they've proven themselves to be a UFC level fighter. Um, it's going to be looking for the knockout. That's just his style. He's headhunter. He'll be looking to finish him. But for me, this is more decided on a mill because uh, his last time out, he lost his for the first time in his professional career. He lost by to a knee and ground strikes to Jose Delgado after just 26 seconds in the first round, and that was only 4 months ago. Now, I don't think he'd have taken an awful lot of damage in that fight. So for me, fitness, health, coming back too soon, that's not really a concern for me this time around. Because it was a technical knockout. It wasn't a bang, lights out, he's unconscious for a minute on the canvas kind of knockout that you do need to take a year off to recover from. It was, yeah, it was a technical knockout, as I said. But the psychological aspect of that was only 4 months ago. Last time you stepped in that cage, only 4 months ago, and the fight didn't even last 30 seconds. Uh, And of course, not only that, which let's be honest, it was a poor performance. It was there's no getting around that. It didn't that was a poor performance against Jose Delgado. There's no escaping that fact. Um, and that being your first professional loss as well. How's that? How are you going to react to that psychologically? How is that going to have an effect on you? Now, hopefully for him, he's been able to just put it past him like the MMA, very unpredictable sport. These things happen. Just we live and learn. Just go in there. Don't start the fight like that again. Uh, because if you start the fight like that, it will end straight away, and that's what he's learned there. But for me, I just don't know. I mean, if that had happened to me, I know as a fact I would have been thinking about that loss every single fucking night for the last 4 months. From what I'd remember of it, they would be playing through in my mind as I try to go to sleep. And I'm assuming that would be a normal fight. I know fighters are built different; they've got to have a different mentality. Hence, why I am not a fighter. But I know I do not have that mentality for it. So I know obviously Jamal Emmers' mind's going to work slightly differently, but yeah, for me, especially when he's come up against somebody, not Emmis. Why am I talking about Emmis? Well, I know all the time I've just been rambling about Emmis. I meant Hyder and Mill, by the way. Um, getting the names muddled up. It was Hyder and Mill that got knocked out last time. Just to clarify that, he's up against Jamal Emmers, is what I meant to say. And Jamal Emmers is the knockout artist. And Hyder and Mill rather, who got knocked out in 26 seconds last time. Um, uh, yeah, it's just that was a fucking blunder, weren't it? Anyway, but everything I just said about Emma's for the last 5 minutes about psychology and all that, apply that to Hydra Emil. I fucked that one up. Um, but anyway, Hydra Emil. How's he going to react to that knockout loss? And I think, especially with Emma starting the fight in the way he does, you're going to be applying the pressure early on. Um, yeah, I think it's going to be a long, well, not maybe not a long night, but it's going to be completely wrong phrase there. Uh, but I just think, is he going to crack again when he has another fighter that's applying that kind of pressure to him early on? Is Hydra and Mill going to Are we going to see a repeat performance? Probably not a repeat performance, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in the first round again. It really just depends how well Hydra Mill bounces back from this. Uh, so this would be a fascinating fight from a psychological perspective. The bookies can't split them, but I'm confident in Jamal Emmers, um, simply because of the psychological aspects of it, which is a huge, huge factor in MMA. Right. So yeah, apologies to Jamal Emmers there for all that psychological slander. I did mean Hydra and Mill when I was saying when I was tearing into when I was accidentally tearing into Jamal Emmers there. I meant to be tearing into Hydra and Mill. Jamal Emmers, I'm confident he's going to win that fight. So apologies to Jamal Emmers. Um, no, not questioning your mentality at all there. I was meant to be aimed entirely at Hydra and Mill. Just had a little bit too much to drink by this point. Man, I got cut down on that shit. Yeah, anyway, on to Tosh, who no longer on Tapology, but a lifetime pass holder. So that grants you entry. It's a lifetime pass for a reason. Um, I just hope you do come back at some point with another account. You do just need a break. But wherever you are, if you are watching this video, still keeping track of the Tapology forums in one way or another, I just hope you're doing good. I hope you're living your best life, just taking a break and yeah, we'd love to see you back someday, but just look after yourself. But and hopefully, even if whatever you're getting up to in real life, your old account on Tapology is about to get paired with someone in the Lucky Bastard game. So best of luck to you for that. Let's see who Tosh gets paired with. Okay, that's good. That's a good one. Randy Brown, one of the main eventers. We haven't had anyone with Gabriel Bonfim. A few with his brother, but none with Gabriel Bonfim. But Randy Brown, as I said, he's the more experienced of the two, got the better skill set of them, and it's just massively, massively more experienced in the UFC and fighting this caliber of opponent. And Yeah, I think that 14-6 UFC record is much, much more impressive than the 5-1. As impressive as that is, that Gabriel Bonfim has made for himself. And I am more impressed with the 14-6 because it shows the longevity. Um, to have that kind of win percentage in the UFC for that many years is remarkable, and I say he's got that by being more versatile, more well-rounded than Bonfim, who so far has shown to be brilliant on the ground, but we still don't really know where his limit is in terms of striking. And uh, and if the fight goes into deep waters, into the later stages of the fight, what happens then? In both of those circumstances, I think Brown takes this. He's got the upper hand on both of those, which is good because this is a 5-round fight. Brown doesn't need to rush anything in this. He's got a bit more time, uh, got a bit more time to execute his game plan. Um, and with his experience, he would have devised a game plan. You don't stay in the UFC for 20 fights without being a very tactically sound fighter with high IQ. Um, that's the bottom line of it, and that's why I'm going with Randy Brown for a decision. Um, so that's a good one for Tosh. Hopefully, hopefully you get through with that. I'm sure you will. I'm very confident in Randy Brown, even if he might be the underdog. I can't quite remember the odds now, but I'm confident in that pick. Okay, Trail Allman next to see who the wheel pairs him with. And only Barcelos makes another appearance. This time for Trail Allman. Right. Interesting. I'm just typing out. Normally, if it's already been typed out, oh, that's why, because I've spelled the bloody name wrong. That's why. It would come up saying, "Oh yeah, you've already typed this one in the Excel sheet. It automatically predicts it." R-A. Yeah, there we are. It helps if you spell the names right, don't it? Right. Only Barcelos there for Trail Allman. Who else was it that has him? I'm sure it was. Yeah, we had a couple of others. Bellatrix, of course, and Damien Handel for 20. Both have Raoni Barcelos and Ricky Simon. Didn't he come up, or has he? I've talked about him, but is that in regards to the fight? Or I don't think. No, no, nobody's had his opponent Ricky Simon. So that's 3-0 there for Raoni Barcelos. Which is unfortunate because I have gone with Ricky Simon for this one. Um, like I say, it's more based on the last two fights he's had more than anything. Those comebacks to sort of bring a bit of spark back into his career because, like I say, he's been struggling for the last couple of years with results, and he's turned it around now. He's got a couple of wins under his belt now. He's on a little streak, and not even the skills that he showed in that as well. It was obviously they're impressive, and this is probably the best version we've seen of him so far in his career. But also the confident boost that's going to give him. It's going to give him a world of confidence, knowing like, yes, I have still got it. I'm back. I can do this. Um, and Marcelo will still be fancying his chances as well. Very experienced fighter, very well rounded. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that knockout power you can't dismiss that. That's always going to be a factor in any fight. But yeah, just based on recent form, I've got my money on. Well, obviously, I don't actually have any and just clarify, I don't when I say uh, when I say for my money or anything like that, I'm not talking literal money. That's just a phrase. That's just turn of phrase I use. Um, don't encourage gambling on this, but Ricky Simon, I've gone with him. That's the bottom line there. Uh, so hopefully we're not seeing a three-way elimination in one fight here. Hopefully I'm wrong. Now that we've had three people with Barcelos, I hope that I am wrong and that you three go through. But somehow I don't think I will be. Anyway, next up, our German alliance, Uber Industry. They're the only alliance still in existence, tragically, after Costradamus imploded. Well, it's not imploded, that's the wrong word. It was a very amicable, a very dignified separation with a lovely statement released by Charles. That was, God damn it, that brought a fucking tear to my eye. Um, with a bit of laughter as well. There's a good dose of humour in that as well. But wow, like as I was saying earlier, it's the shit like that. This is what I live for in this game. That's when I created this game a couple of years back. I genuinely thought it would. I originally just made this as a spoof of the Survivor game run by ex-con Chris these days. I think at the time I was actually run by Free Money for All. There's a Tapology user from the past. Um, he just went AWOL. I hope that he's doing okay, whatever he's up to. Um, you haven't forgotten your free money for all. But anyway, when I made it, it was just a parody of the Survivor game. And of course, XCOM Chris carrying on free money for all's legacy brilliantly. Um, but yeah, like I say, well worth getting in on the Tapology Survivor game. New game up, by the way, for this week. If you're not already in it, join it. It's Hateful Eight themed. Uh, so there's always a movie theme for them. But anyway, um, as I was saying, when I first made this, I thought it was gonna. I'd do it once or twice. I thought, okay, I'll just do this maybe once, twice, maybe three times, as a spoof, and then by that point the joke would have worn off. Um, and then it just sort of die like a lot of other games in the past have. But no, it's thanks to you guys. You've kept finding ways to breathe life into this and add to it and grow it. And yeah, it's great to see what it has become, what it's grown into. Um, so yeah, keep at it, keep doing the shit like that. It's brilliant. That's what we live for. Love it. Um, and the alliances, that's part of that. Uber Industry Alliance. Let's not keep you waiting anymore. Let's see who you're going to get paired with. Let's see who is going to be representing Germany or Industry. And it's Ismail Bonfim. Ismail Bonfim there for Uber Industry, carrying the weights and expectations of an entire nation on his shoulders. I'm assuming he has two shoulders. Oh, he did last time I checked. Anyway, um, but let's see who else had him. Spockling had him. Do, 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 do. Spockling had him. Of course, Baron Van Rassus as well. Chris Padilla, his opponent. A few people have had, as I can see straight away, is El Guapo. Piggy Bank, of course. So yeah, my quick scan there. That's a 3v2 in favour of Ismail Bonfim. So it does look like that Ismail Bonfim versus Chris Padilla is going to be our unofficial Lucky Bastard Game main event, as decided by the wheel. And it's good for the German super industry that they got Ismail Bonfim because I think he's going to win, as I've mentioned several times in this video, by decision. Is okay, he lost his last fight, but that was a doctor stoppage. We don't like it when the doctors have to intervene. Um, and as I say, he's a very well-rounded fighter when he doesn't get busted open. And Badila again, just again, very good fighter himself, very solid opponent, and it's going to be a tough fight for both of them. They're both going to learn something about themselves after their encounter. But for me, just going the distance, Ismail Bonfim is the more reliable, the one I'd feel more confident in to get those hands raised by the end of it. So that's how it is. That's how the cards land, and that's the hand you dealt. And luckily for Uber Industry, they're on what I'd consider to be the right side of that draw. Okay, Vazquez 88. It's his debut, of course, in the Lucky Bastard game. He under normal circumstances, like the rest of you, would have got knocked out, because like the rest of you, had a losing fighter. But luckily for him, his debut coincided with Halloween when we decide, fuck it, rules don't apply anymore. Let's just flip them around because everybody's dead and there's zombies and ghosts and witches and all the other creepy ghoulies and all the rest of it. And well, to be fair, I mean, this Halloween is mostly kids dressed up as fucking football players. Like you can't just go out in a fucking Chelsea shirt, can you? I mean, okay, I mean, like, I mean, I'm sure it must be scary supporting Chelsea, but he had a trick or treater on our door, and he was wearing a Chelsea shirt. Like, come on, just make an effort, kid. Ah, anyway, but anyway, that's my little gripe about Halloween game. It's not really spooky anymore. It's just a general fancy dress. Or at least that seems to be the way. I don't know. Maybe I'm like that Seymour Skinner meme. Am I out of touch with the kids? I'm starting to get that way. Cranky old alcoholic. I am. Right. Anyway, Ismail. Where were we? Vazquez, 88 debut. Lucky bastard game. Let's get on with it. Let's hope you have a winner this time because you need a winner. Uh, Vazquez 88 to face the wheel. It needs to be a winner this time. And that's is now a 4v2 with Ismail Bonfim coming up yet again. Ismail Bonfim. Not really a lot I can ramble on about that anymore, but as I said, it's I think this fight with Chris Padilla is going to be going the distance. And um in terms of these fighters, judging them over the course of 15 minutes and 3 rounds, it's Ismail Bonfim is the better long distance fighter, shall we say, of the two of them. In my opinion, of uh, my humble opinion. So yeah, that now makes it a 4v2, I believe. So that's definitely our main event, our unofficial Lucky Bastard game main event there. Um, oh, there's a lot of pressure on Ismail Bonfim now. Funny enough, nobody with his brother Gabriel in the main event. A few with his opponent Randy Brown, but I don't believe no nobody has Gabriel Bonfim. And if he is going to come up, well, he's got to come up next time because we're down to our last person now. Ex-con Chris, who, as I mentioned, runs the Survivor game. Always great fun to be a part of them, even though I don't always last too long in them. Now and again, I've won it 3 times. Just humble brag there. Now and again, I just pull out my arse and end up winning the whole damn thing. But new one open this week. Get in on it if you're not already. Just pick. There's 3 fights to choose from. Just make those. Say who you think is going to win them, and if they win you through. Similar to this game, except it's not reliant on luck. You actually have to know your shit about MMA to get through on it. Um, so if you do go out, you only got yourself to blame in a way. You can't blame it on a wheel like this game. It's not a little cold comfort that this game provides, but definitely more skill involved in winning that. And but yeah, great fun to be a part of. If you're not already in it, join it, and let's see if everybody's favorite Delaware resident is gonna be paired with a lucky fighter or winning fighter anyway. And he gets Euros Medic. Euros Medic there for ex-con Chris. Somebody else had Euros Medic earlier because I remember talking about not having much faith in him. Yes, it was KK Kombu who had Eurosmedic as well. And I haven't changed my opinion. I still fancy Muslim Salikov to win that one, even though Salikov is the underdog, and I can see why. He's not getting any younger. He's 41, um, compared to the sprightly 32-year-old Eurosmedic, but is Salikov's still been more consistent, and he's won his last three. He's still getting results, whereas Medic's kind of, yeah, he won his last fight, sure, but he struggled for form before that. He's not been able to put any kind of streaks together, just odd wins and then a loss and another odd win here and there. Um, and Salikov is a case of he's mostly relied on his power, and okay, sure, he's getting older, but that's the last thing to go, and he'll still have that power. And I still have faith in Salikov there. I still think he's going to get it done. Um, Medic, to his credit, also a knockout artist, and um, again, he's definitely goes in very aggressively, looking for the finish. He's a very entertaining fighter. This criticism isn't necessarily criticism of his entertainment value. I always love watching Medic in the cage. This is purely looking at this fight. I think Salikov's going to win. That's all it is. I love watching Medic, and it's going to be a very entertaining fight for however long it lasts. And I suppose you can make the argument that it's similar to the Marco Tullio Christian Leroy Duncan fight in the sense that whoever lands first is going to win. But I think that Salikov has got this. I really do. I've got a very good feeling about Salikov. Right. Okay, so that concludes the where are we now? Second round draw for the Tapology Bastard Game 33rd edition. Just to remind you, obviously, we'll go through obviously and just reiterate who's been drawn with who. I won't bother trying to join all the dots with who's been drawn with and against which other users, but yeah, anyway, Mule Floyd usually does a brilliant job of joining all the dots together in his breakdown posts. So give a shout out to him as well as saying all the fun little bits he will add to it. But I'll just run through these names one more time, just so you all know who you're with, who you need to win, and you do need them to win this time. This isn't the flip flop unluckiest bastards anymore. It's back to normal, back to reality. So the fighters that these guys need to win are Baron van Rattus paired with Ismail Bonfim, Bellatrix with Raoni Barcelos, Calfoth with Daniel Marcos, Cheeseball with Jackson McVeigh, Damien Handel 420 with Raoni Barcelos, El Guapo with Chris Padilla, It's Your Boy SB with Marco Tullio, Jack Soto with Randy Brown, KK Kombu with Eurus Medic, Knife Rusty with Miles Johns, Cushy Cake with Christian Leroy Duncan, Piggy Bank with Chris Padilla, Spockling with Ismail Bonfim, me, Steve Terry, with Daniel Marcos, the Matchmaker with Tasha Pennington, the MMA Historian with Jamal Emmers, Tosh with Randy Brown, Trey Allman with Raoni Barcelos, Uber Industry with Ismail Bonfim, as is Vazk88, our debutant. And finally, to round things off, we have Excon Chris with Euros Medic. So that concludes the second round draw. As always, a bit of a mixed bag there. The main takeaway from that is there's a lot of pressure on Ismail Bonfim now. If he wasn't already under pressure fighting on the same card of his brother, well, he certainly has now that he's got all the, I think it's about 4 people on his shoulders. But anyway, that's definitely going to be an interesting fight. But all it leaves me to say, as always, is best of luck to all of you. And remember, you do need your fighters to win this time. We're not doing the unluckiest bastards anymore. We took a vote on that. We decided it was a close vote, to be fair, 11-7. So there's definitely popularity for the unluckiest bastards idea, but this is democracy. Number of votes by 4 votes. We voted in favour of this, so you need your fighters to win this. They need them to win their respective fights now. So if you get a losing fighter this week, it won't buy you out of jail like it did last week. But anyway, best of luck to everybody in this game. Of course, best of luck to everyone in general with their tips on picks and on Tapology. If you do have any money on this card, best of luck with your bets, and until next week. So long for now.